There is something that is rarely revealed, not because it's secret, but because few manage to remain in the right state to perceive it. Today, this will be shown, not at first, not directly, but throughout this video something that normally goes unnoticed will become clear. Stop for a moment, breathe. If this message just appeared for you, it's because this is not ordinary content. It's a silent turning point, one of those that only make sense after they happen. What you will see here is not an external warning. It's an internal recognition that changes how you understand people, the distances, and the recent silences. Perhaps you've already sensed that something was different. Not worse. It's just emptier in some places. This emptiness is not a lack. It's preparation. Time slows down when something unprecedented is about to unfold. And those who realize this before the end understand why certain people don't move on. You don't need to interpret anything right now. Don't draw any conclusions. Just observe. Because by the very end, something that was hidden will become impossible to ignore. And after that, you won't try to hold on to what has already begun to slip out of your life. If this message reached you, it's probably not by chance. Like the video and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving messages on time. The moon is not here to illuminate visible paths. She acts upon what cannot be seen. It regulates cycles that don't ask permission to happen, closures that don't need an announcement, movements that first take place on an internal level. When the moon activates certain points in time, it is not to create immediate events. It's about repositioning destinations. Nothing you realize now is a coincidence. Not even subtle distancing. Not even the unexpected silence. Not even the feeling that something is being taken from your field without confrontation. The universe doesn't push. He walks away. And when that happens, it's because a higher power has already decided that that connection cannot continue at the same frequency. You haven't lost anything. You've just entered a time when not everything can remain the same. The moon doesn't come to confuse. She comes to adjust the exact timing of the necessary separations. Karma doesn't arrive abruptly. It manifests itself as a silent reminder. Anything sustained for too long without balance leaves subtle marks. Decisions postponed, limits not set, prolonged silences to avoid conflict. None of this is lost. Karma does not accuse, judge, or punish. He simply returns what was left pending. You may have recently felt that certain situations no longer require effort, that some people no longer require explanations. Maintaining certain relationships began to cost more energy than it made sense to. That's not coldness. It is spiritual maturity. When karma comes into play, it doesn't act cruelly. He removes it out of necessity. Anything that doesn't keep up with its current pace starts to fall apart on its own, without confrontation, no visible breakage. Because karma doesn't forget what has been ignored. He's just waiting for the right moment to rearrange his path. The signal doesn't come from the outside first. It starts inside. Before any word, there is a feeling. Before any decision is made, there is a silent adjustment within the body. Perhaps you noticed a slight unease, without fear. A discomfort that doesn't hurt, but serves as a warning, as if something were asking for space. The heart becomes more alert, a mind less tolerant of what previously seemed normal, and the body recognizes when an energy no longer belongs to the same cycle. None of this is anxiety. It's intuition activated. When the internal signal appears, it doesn't demand an immediate reaction. He is simply confirming that the process has already begun. You don't need to force change, nor should we force separations. Adjustment happens on its own when you stop resisting. This sign exists to protect, to prevent wear and tear, to prevent you from continuing to support something that has already lost its purpose. And when you learn to respect it, the path begins to align effortlessly. Adjustment doesn't begin with major events. It starts with small shifts, a decision that becomes easier, an answer that is no longer coming, an invitation that loses its weight. You experience a sudden relief even without understanding why, as if something had been removed from their path before it became a problem. The flow begins to reorganize itself effortlessly. What once required persistence now simply happens. What used to consume energy no longer demands attention. None of this is by chance. This is a sign that the alignment has been set in motion. When the adjustment begins, you don't need to rush. Haste only interferes with what is already being organized with precision. You begin to see more clearly where to invest your energy, and most importantly, where not to invest anymore. This is the moment when the universe silently works in your favor. No ads, no promises. Simply correcting the path so that what comes next finds space. There is a protection that is not shown. She doesn't warn you. It doesn't attract attention. She acts by diverting. Paths that never cross. Conversations that never happen. Situations that seem to cause delays but are actually being avoided. You may have felt that something almost happened, and it didn't. This was not a mistake. It was a measure of restraint. When karmic adjustments enter this phase, silence becomes a shield. Not reacting becomes wisdom. Responding less becomes strength. The universe doesn't protect you by building walls. It protects you by removing you from its reach. Therefore, not every separation is a loss. Some are acts of luck that don't need explaining. If something got out of your way without confrontation, it was because staying would have caused unnecessary strain. Invisible protection doesn't ask for recognition. It simply keeps you in the right place, away from things that no longer need to touch your energy. Not all estrangement happens through words. Some things happen in silence. You don't argue. It doesn't explain. You simply realize that the energy no longer flows in the same way. People who were once present are starting to drift away. Conversations lose depth. The exchange ceases to be reciprocal. This is not rejection. It's natural selection. When you reach a new level of alignment, not everyone can keep up. And they don't need to. The necessary separation isn't meant to hurt. He comes to preserve. Preserve your energy, your focus, its stability. You learn that it's not your role to maintain relationships simply out of habit, guilt, or past history. Some connections serve their purpose and then go another way. And that's okay. Here, many people feel the urge to speak, to comment on, to acknowledge someone who is no longer present. If this resonated with you, it's because this estrangement was already happening. Perhaps even before you realize it. There's a subtle mistake that many people make just when the adjustment starts to work. By press. The desire to accelerate what is being organized with precision. The urge to revert to old patterns out of fear of temporary emptiness. When something leaves your life, a space opens up. And this space should not be filled immediately. Trying to replace what has been removed too quickly can disrupt the alignment. The universe needs time to reposition what comes next. Another common mistake is excess. Too much explaining. Too many justifications. Excessive control. When you try to understand everything rationally, you miss the subtle nuances of the process. The warning here is not intended to generate fear. It's meant to raise awareness. Don't revert to what's already been settled just because the silence is unsettling. The gains go to those who respect the pace of adjustment. Not everyone benefits from this type of adjustment, and this needs to be said clearly. Profit doesn't come to those who desire it intensely. It comes to those who maintain constancy. The real winners are those who have learned to stay aligned even without guarantees. Those who continued doing what needed to be done when no one was watching. Those who did not abandon their own integrity in order to be accepted. Karmic adjustments are not determined by luck. He chooses by accumulation. Accumulation of correct decisions. Within the established limits of silences that are respected. That's why some people feel like they are losing out as you move forward. It's not a comparison. It's frequency. The path opens only for those who are prepared to handle what comes next. And this preparation almost always happens away from the applause. True recognition doesn't come from public praise. It manifests itself silently. You start to be respected without having to explain yourself. Their decisions are no longer questioned. His presence naturally begins to impose limits. None of this happens because you asked for it. It happens because your energy has changed. When the adjustment takes hold, the world responds differently. People notice, even if they don't know how to explain it. You don't need to prove anything. No need to convince anyone, not even announcing achievements. Stability becomes visible in the little things, with the security you choose, in the tranquility of saying no. This type of recognition doesn't inflate the ego. She's still. And when you feel that, you understand that you've progressed to a point where fewer words are needed. The most profound change isn't in what you do. It's in the posture you maintain. You end up explaining less justification, to react less, not out of coldness but out of clarity. His presence becomes more firmly established, his most complete silence, and its energy stops fluctuating according to the environment. When this attitude takes hold, the world responds. Not with noise but with respect. Situations that previously required effort now resolve themselves. Conflicts lose momentum before they even arise. People can sense your limits without you needing to verbalize them. This attitude cannot be learned. She accepts herself. And when you stand by it, you realize you no longer need to fight to be heard. The adjustment has already done that work for you. Getting this far isn't the end point. It's the maintenance point. Everything that has been adjusted now needs to be supported consistently, not through excessive effort, but through consistency. Returning to old habits for comfort can undo what has been organized, not as punishment, but as a result of misalignment. The right rhythm is silent, not too slow to stagnate, not too fast to lose clarity. Sustaining this moment requires spiritual responsibility. Choose consciously. Respect your own limits. Maintain what has been achieved without ostentation. The universe continues to respond as long as you remain whole. When you maintain your composure, the path doesn't close. This is the point where many lose out on potential gains due to distraction, and few move forward out of loyalty to their own alignment. At the end of this process, there is no euphoria. What emerges is a strange peace. Nothing spectacular happens on the outside, but internally something is confirmed. You feel you don't need to insist anymore. There's no need to chase after it. No need to prove it. There is a silent certainty that what needed to come out has come out, and what needs to arrive is still moving, even if you don't see it. The adjustment process doesn't end with clear answers. It ends with internal stability. If something is left open, it's because it's still being organized. Destiny doesn't work in a hurry. He works with precision. And when this type of signal appears, it's because a new phase has already been authorized, even though it doesn't have a name yet. If this message resonated with you, like the video and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving messages at the right time. And comment "I felt it" if you made it this far. It helps the channel and shows who was truly aligned with this message. Something is still moving. And in the next video, this movement starts to become clearer.